Hello there, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Guys Who Stared Stats. I'm Cade Kennedy alongside Andrew Santangelo. And Andrew, it's been a while since we've done a show. I'm going to apologize. My voice is terrible right now. I've been battling through illness all week, but we are here to talk about Week 11 of the college football season. It should be a good one, Andrew.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a fun season so far. We're already down to week 11, so let's dive in as we get through these college football playoffs here shortly.
And as always, we start this thing by talking about the number one team in the country, Ohio State. They play Michigan State this week. Buckeyes 31.5-point favorites in this one.
Yeah, Michigan State just not what they used to be. Ohio State's a lot better in all aspects of the game. Anytime you're throwing the ball to Marvin Harrison, obviously you have a chance there. And, Ohio State's looked good this year. They have some good wins. There's no reason they're going to lose this game, and they'll take care of business from the start in this one.
Yeah, this is not going to be much of a game here. It's kind of funny. This is the Saturday night NBC game, but Ohio State will get the job done. The next one, though, another big night game, this one on ESPN. Georgia and Ole Miss at top 10 battle. Georgia, 11-point favorites.
Yeah, and it's a shame Georgia's 2 and not 1. I mean, they are won how many games in a row? They deserve that one spot till they lose. But no, I think this is gonna be the game of the week. This and one other game we'll talk about here later. But I think it's gonna be a great high-scoring battle. I do think Ole Miss covers here. I think they've looked really good offensively. They're going to be able to match a lot with Georgia. Obviously, Georgia dealt with some injuries left and right a little bit. They've been battling, but I think ultimately at home, Georgia Georgia is going to be able to get the job done.
And that's where I'm kind of at on it. I think Georgia at home, they're playing against an Ole Miss team that we know how Lane Kiffin kind of performs in these bigger games. They usually come up a bit short. Georgia's still continuing to be on a tear. I think the Bulldogs get it done. But the next one, the other big one, this one, the 11 a.m. Big Noon, whatever you want to call it, Michigan and Penn State, a top 10 battle in Happy Valley. Michigan 4-point favorites with everything going on with the Harbaugh scandal.
Yeah, and how this game isn't the night game is crazy that Michigan State and Ohio State got that one. This is the one you think that they want everybody to be able to watch. But no, it's crazy what's going on with Michigan. It's crazy everything they're having to deal with from the players to the coaches. I mean, it's got to be a distraction. I know they're going to try to throw it under the rug in their press conferences and say it's not, but, that's still lingering a little bit. Now they got to go travel. Not for a bad game. They got to go travel to a top 10 team in the country in their place who's known for having a great atmosphere. This is going to be a tough one for Michigan. I think Penn State gets the job done at home. I know their offense didn't look great against Ohio State, but they've had a chance now to fix some things. Being a few weeks out or a few weeks past that game against Ohio State, I think the offense of the Nittany Lions looks better here in this one, and their defense is always pretty good, so I think that continues.
Yeah, this is going to be a low-scoring game. I feel like, though, for Michigan, with everything that's been going on, the Connor Stallion stuff, now Harbaugh, there was talks that he might get suspended for 3 more games for the Big Ten. I think Michigan is just the better team than Penn State, but with all that going on, I think Penn State keeps it close, and at the end of the day, Michigan holds on barely, but it should be a tight one. But the next one, big rivalry down south, Miami and Florida State going at it. Usually always fun when these two get together. Florida State 14-point favorites, though.
I do think it's going to be a fun one, to be honest. I think Miami isn't going to be able to get the win, but I think they're able to keep it close, make this game interesting. I think Florida State's going to get a little bit of a scare for some parts of this game. I think Miami will be able to find a way to do that, and ultimately, the Seminoles will get the job done, get the win, but give me the Hurricanes against the spread.
Yeah, I think Florida State gets the job done here. They're just more talented of a team than Miami is. I think Cristobal will have them ready, but Miami's just not at that level where Florida State is. And then another fun one, Utah and Washington. Utah just, whoever they have out there, down to third stringers in a lot of positions, they just keep fighting. They play a Washington team that they've been red hot the entire year. Washington, 9-point favorites in this one.
You have to give credit to Utah for how much they're able to fight throughout the season. I think for the reason of the injuries, I think that's going to be – this is one of the more underrated games this week. I think Utah is going to be able to keep it close. I think it's going to be a battle back and forth, but Washington gets the win in the end, and I don't know, it'll be interesting. I mean, hypothetically, if what we say happens and Penn State gets the win, will Washington find a way into that four? Would Michigan drop that far? I mean, obviously, that's talk about for next week if it happens, but I mean, wait, Washington could find their way into a playoff spot next week.
They absolutely could. They'll get the job done here, I think. Utah, they're good defensively, but I don't think they're going to be good enough offensively to hang around with Washington. We'll see, though. Washington's defense the past 2 weeks has not been the best. We'll have to see, but I think Washington, they're just too talented on offense. When you have Michael Penix Jr. out there, not many quarterbacks of that caliber. Utah's seen a few of them already, but they've not been able to have that much success with them. Bo Nix, Caleb Williams, things like that. But speaking of USC and Oregon, they're the next game up here. Oregon 15.5-point favorites at home. However you look at it, it's a 9:30 game our time. It's Pac-12 After Dark season, Andrew.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun matchup here. Very two explosive teams, two good quarterbacks. Obviously, USC's having not the year they were expecting to have, but overall, I mean that is still a team that was highly thought about. I expect them to be able to make it interesting a little bit. I think Oregon and Knicks are going to be able to go get the job done. I think their offense is going to be too much, and USC's defense just hasn't shown us any reason to believe that they can stop anybody. So I think Bo Nix is able to get the job done, able to have a big game here and carry Oregon to another victory.
Yeah, Alex Grinch is gone, but that's not going to fix the defense for the rest of the season for USC. They'll put up points. The Trojans are always going to put up points. That's what Lincoln Riley offenses do, but Oregon's going to win this one in a shootout. But the next one, Saturday night game on ABC. Texas goes to TCU. Quinn Ewers is going to be back. Texas, 12-point favorites on the road in Fort Worth.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of a trap game, and I mean that by you get Ewers back, you expect big things. But you got to remember, when these come back, he might not still be 100%. I think TCU hangs around for a little bit, but ultimately Texas is too talented, too strong. I think they're going to pull away in the end and get this win. But I do think TCU makes this an interesting game for the first 3 quarters.
Yeah, this is one of those where I think Texas comes out of the gate. They struggle a little bit, but at the end of the day, TCU's defense is not great. Texas will figure out you don't have to put this in Ewers' hands, even though he's back. You can just rely on that run game and kind of cruise to victory. But the next one, Alabama goes to Kentucky. Kind of an interesting one. Kentucky, as always, they're 6-3. Doesn't really feel like anybody's talking about them. They were ranked earlier this year. They have a chance to prove themselves once again with Alabama coming to town. But the Tide are 11-point favorites coming off that big win over LSU.
Yeah, they have a chance. I mean, I think Alabama's fixed things. Obviously, there's a lot of questions after their one loss and early on in the season. But as always, we all start questioning these teams early on. And then ultimately, those good teams find a way to just get back into rhythm, and that's what Alabama's done. I expect Alabama to win this game.
I expect them to as well. This is going to be one where I think it could be fun. It's a little hard to win in Lexington at 11 in the morning, kind of one of those atmospheres where you don't really know what you're getting into. Alabama might struggle a little bit early, but I think Kentucky plays well, but not well enough. Alabama will get the win. But moving on to a little bit later in the day, Oregon State, Stanford on the Pac-12 network. A game not a lot of people are going to see, a game that not a lot of people are going to care about. But Stanford has that ability to hang with people. You look at their last 5. They beat Washington State. They beat Colorado. They hung with Washington. But Oregon State, 20.5-point favorites at home.
Hey, Oregon State's playing very, very well right now. Obviously, the Arizona game was a little bit of a letdown for them. One they probably still think they should have been able to win. But no, ultimately, yeah, you're going against a Stanford team that they're not going to just fold up and let you beat them. They're going to go out there and try to make it a game. I do think Oregon State's pretty good, and they'll be able to find the rhythm again, and I think they win by double digits.
Yeah, Oregon State, they're one of those teams that once they can get to their brand of football, once they can get that run game going, they're a physical, tough team. Stanford might be able to hang around for a little bit in this one. They do have a few playmakers here and there, but at the end of the day, Oregon State is just a much better team. They're more well put together, and I think they get the job done. But the next one, a big top 15 battle in Columbia. Tennessee and Missouri battling it out. Tennessee 2-point favorites in this one.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun game on the road, fun SEC matchup. Missouri, a team that's kind of put themselves back on the map after being off it a little bit. I think the Tigers are able to get the job done at home. I think it's gonna be a back and forth battle. It's gonna be a coin flip type game. You don't know who's gonna be able to pull it off, but I think Missouri is able to find a way, get the job done, kind of just put wear and tear there on Tennessee's defense, and eventually get the big strike.
Yeah, and this is one where Missouri, I think, last week, even though they lose to Georgia by 9, I think that was more of a statement than anything else. That this is not a Missouri team that had just been kind of coasting through the season. They're a legitimate team. And Tennessee's a great team as well, don't get me wrong. But Missouri being back at home, I think they're able to get the job done here in what should be a shootout between these two. The next one, Oklahoma State goes to Orlando. They get that fun trip to Disney World, Andrew. They get to see the bounce house. They get to see everything. But this is one where Oklahoma State's a 2.5-point favorite. You look at the matchup predictor, it's a little bit weird seeing that in favor of UCF. But OSU, this is one of those weird trap games coming off the big Bedlam win.
No, yeah, no question about it. A lot of distractions possible. I mean, obviously, like you said, you get the big win in Bedlam. You go to Orlando, a big destination there, a lot of things going on. But, I mean, OSU just needs to stick to the run game. I mean, right now that seems to be the recipe. Stick to the run game, control the clock, and then have your defense do its job, and that's how they've been able to win. And then make the big plays in the end. So I think this is a trap game. I mean, you hope you can get out to a fast start, but I got to take Oklahoma State.
This is one where what does UCF struggle with? Stopping the run. Who does Oklahoma State have? Ollie Gordon.
Yeah.
That's really all you need to know about this game. If OSU gives him his 30 carries he's been getting, this should be no problem for them. But speaking of kind of a similar situation, Texas Tech and Kansas. Kansas 4-point favorites in this one, but Texas Tech seeming to get healthy at the right time. We'll see if it has any impact.
Yeah, I think Kansas is able to come out in this game, continue to get the job done. They've been playing pretty good football here over the last few weeks. And I think they continue to do what they do best, and I think they'll be able to control the game on the ground as well. And I think they're able to do enough in this game, even with Texas Tech getting some guys back. I think Kansas is able to get the job done, and Tech struggles on the road there.
This is one where you're right. Tech does struggle on the road. That's something we've seen for them a lot this season. But getting Taj Brooks back, and I think what that adds to the Texas Tech offense – Kansas, they're another team. They've struggled against the run. If you can get that going, I think Tech can hang around for a little bit, but Kansas holds on at home in a big game for them. But the next one, West Virginia and Oklahoma. Sooners have lost back-to-back games. It's a night game in Norman. OU 11.5-point favorites. But West Virginia looking solid last week against BYU.
Yeah, West Virginia has looked good at times this season. They just haven't been able to put enough together, I feel like. I mean, you see them be able to score throughout the season, putting up over 30 a lot. And even, in the loss to UCF, they go down 41-28. The final, Oklahoma State 48-34. Houston 41-39. So they're able to score. It's a matter of, are they going to be able to stop Oklahoma's offense? And I don't think they're going to be able to. And I like Oklahoma's defense better than West Virginia's defense as well. So I'm going to take the Sooners at home. They get back on track with a win.
This is one of those where I've said it the last few weeks. This is going to be Oklahoma's defense versus Oklahoma's offense versus West Virginia. If OU can just get out of their own way, if they can just make the big plays we know they're capable of, I think they can win this one. I'm not going to say they cover. I think West Virginia's a good enough team. They'll make some plays on their own, but I like to see Oklahoma win this one by 7. But going from one game that could be maybe a little bit of a shootout here and there to a game that I feel like it will be. This is just who LSU is this year. Tigers are 15-point favorites, though, against Florida.
Yeah, I just think it says a lot about LSU. I was coming off a tough game against Alabama. Florida hasn't looked good at times. I think the Tigers get the job done here, and they do it from the start of the game. They get back on track.
See, this is one where Florida always seems to play well in this game. LSU always plays well in this game. Always a back and forth between these two. I think Florida will shock some people. They'll play well in this one. It'll be a bit of a higher scoring game. It might be one of those 35-31 situations, but LSU at home, it's not a place they lose at very often. But Arizona and Colorado, the next one, Colorado just continuing to go into a spiral. And Arizona, I mean, you want to talk about a team that just week after week is looking better and better. Arizona, 10.5-point favorites in Boulder.
Yeah, credit to Arizona for figuring things out after a tough start to the Pac-12 schedule. Figured it out over the last 3 weeks, and they're able to get the job done. I think they're going to come in, get the win over Colorado, even on the road. Colorado's a team obviously struggled after all the hype early on in the year, and I think the Wildcats get the job done.
Yeah, this is one Arizona. What Coach Fish has been able to do out there has been absolutely incredible. Arizona, I'm not going to say they come out and dominate Colorado, but I think they can do enough that Colorado just kind of falls apart midway through the second half here. I think Arizona is that good of a team at this point. But we go from one game that could be exciting to, well, there's no other way to put it. This is the lowest over-under in recorded history, at least since 2000. Iowa is a 1-point favorite against Rutgers. The over-under is 28.5. I didn't know it could go that low, Andrew. I didn't know it could actually feasibly go that low, but Iowa somehow 1-point favorite at home.
Yeah, obviously a team that struggled offensively, both teams. And I think Rutgers is a team that gets overlooked a lot. And I think they're better than people might think they are. I think they go on the road here. I think they're able to score just enough points over Iowa and get the win. I do like Rutgers' defense. They hung around with Ohio State for a little while before losing that game. I think they get the job done on the road.
Yeah, this is one where I agree with you. I think Rutgers, they're a better team, mainly because they have a functioning offense. Yeah. These are both solid defensive teams that Iowa, we know what they're capable of. They're not going to be able to score. Rutgers can at least score a little bit, I think, and that's what gets Rutgers the win. But the next one, a little bit of a group of 5 game here to talk about. Tulsa going to Tulane. Tulane just quietly 8-1. Their only losses to Ole Miss. The Green Wave continuing to play well, 23.5-point favorites at home.
Yeah, Tulsa's really struggled this year. And again, Tulane has figured things out over the last couple of years. I mean, last year, is when they really started to make some noise, and they're able to continue it into this year. Like you said, the one loss is to a top 10 team in the college football playoff rankings right now. And we'll see what they're able to do here, but I think that offense is going to be way too much for Tulsa. And Tulane gets the job done pretty easy.
Yeah, Tulane is they're still a fun team to watch. Tulsa is just not where they want to be yet. Tulane's going to roll in this one. But another fun one, the Saturday night game on the ACC network. A few weeks ago, this felt like it would be a bigger deal, but Duke and North Carolina, Duke not ranked, North Carolina only 24. Tar Heels, though, 14-point favorites, with Duke just continuing to have to battle through that quarterback situation.
Yeah, you've seen this in the past, North Carolina. Every time you think they've kind of made that next step to stay up at top in the rankings, they always get those one or two bad losses in the season, and that happened this year. Obviously, I think, what was it, they had as high as 13, I think it was, and then they get those 2 losses, drop back down to 24, and, we'll see what they're able to do this week. But with Duke coming in, obviously a fun rivalry between these two schools, I think North Carolina is able to get the job done.
Duke's defense is going to give North Carolina problems, but I just cannot see Duke scoring enough to win this game. I really can't. I think North Carolina holds on for dear life. This is going to be a fun one, though. This is going to be an absolute back and forth, I feel like. But give me North Carolina barely holding on. And the final one here, which is good for me because I think my voice is about to try to give out again, but K-State and Baylor. K-State 21.5-point favorites trying to rebound from that Texas game, while Baylor still trying to find their footing late in the season.
Yeah, it was a wild game last week with Kansas State and Texas, That was a fun one to watch. Looked like Texas had it for a while, and then all of a sudden Kansas State came storming back. So, I mean, they know what they need to do this week. Just get out to a better start. Don't fall behind and play a complete game. And I think Kansas State's able to get the job done by double digits if they do so.
Yeah, I think Kansas State comes out there back at home. They'll play a lot better. They'll play a more complete game. And they really don't have to do that to beat Baylor, but they're going to. And I think Kansas State absolutely blows out Baylor. But, folks, as always, we thank you for tuning in. Thank you for putting up with my voice that just does not want to cooperate. I'm going to go home, I guess, and chug as much water as I can before I have to get out on the road today. But as always, thank you for tuning in, sticking around. Feel free to like that video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below, and all those good things. And until next time, have a good one, everybody.